and welcome to The Trusted Advisor, a channel-focused podcast and video series powered by the Retail Solutions Providers Association. I'm Jim Roddy, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. This pod and video series is designed specifically for point-of-sale resellers and software developers, and our goal is to educate you on the topics of technology, leadership, management, sales, marketing, and other small business best practices. This is a special episode of The Trusted Advisor, a COVID-19 crisis community roundtable consisting of VARs, software developers, vendors, distributors, and other solution providers serving the retail, restaurant, and grocery markets. This is our fourth roundtable in a series that we have put together. And just for context, we're recording this the morning of Thursday, April 16th. I say that because, as we know, paying attention to this situation, a lot of things can change hour to hour, day to day, week to week. So we're recording this at this point, April 16th, with that knowledge. And again, this is roundtable number 4. We recorded a similar one yesterday afternoon, which is available on the RSPA blog and the RSPA YouTube channel. The first two roundtables we recorded a few weeks back, and it dealt with the immediacy of the crisis, talking about working from home, how do you handle that, employee and merchant communication, best practices. The topics we're going to talk about today, and we'll dive into them a little bit later, but just to give you a heads up, we're going to talk about how RSPA members, solution provider members are utilizing federal resources, the CARES Act, the Paycheck Protection Program, emergency disaster loans. That's going to be a big chunk of our conversation. We're also going to dive into sales and marketing tactics during the crisis, and also how solution providers are adjusting their staffing levels and their service tactics as well. This will be an open forum, an information sharing discussion detailing how solution providers are navigating this crisis. And please note, the views and opinions expressed during this roundtable are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the Retail Solutions Providers Association. Also, we've asked everyone on today's call to avoid sales pitches and to identify themselves when they speak for the benefit of our listeners. Okay, so before we open up the roundtable, we do have a few housekeeping items that we want to talk about first. First, thanks so much to the RSPA 2020 Platinum sponsors, Blue Star, Heartland, ScanSource, and Shift4 Payments. They make this podcast possible. They make many other RSPA services possible. We've created several over the last few weeks to assist our members with the COVID-19 crisis, and have received a lot of positive feedback on that. So again, thanks Blue Star, Heartland, ScanSource, and Shift4. Some of the benefits that we see our members taking advantage of most of all during this crisis is first, the RSPA legal hotline. So the RSPA provides members with unlimited phone and email consultations with RSPA legal counsels Bob Goldberg and Jill Miller, along with access to legal templates and the opportunity to have contracts reviewed. They've been working long hours during this crisis, answering many questions, and a big guidance that Bob has given in the first two webinars as he recorded is lean on your legal counsel, lean on your accountant, because these new laws, these new guidelines, you need somebody to help you keep up to speed with those. So if you're an RSPA member, there's no charge for email and phone consultations with the legal counsel, and you can connect with Bob at bob.goldberg at sfnr.com. That's bob.goldberg at sfnr.com. Again, legal experts, industry experts, no charge for RSPA members. We also have a service called through GMS, Group Management Services. So RSPA members receive preferred rates on a variety of HR services, including employer risk management, federal, state, and local HR law compliance assistance, employee performance management, payroll, employee benefits administration, and more. And so just like they say on the GMS website, do what you do best, outsource the rest. This is a very tricky time from an HR perspective, and so GMS can really help you navigate through that. So if you're an RSPA member and want to take advantage of the GMS services, you can email membership@gorspa.org. That email is really the key to unlock all the services that the RSPA has to offer. So again, whether you're a member or a non-member interested in this offering, membership@gorspa.org. Also, specifically for the COVID-19 crisis, RSPA has created several resources. You can access them through gorspa.org/crisis-resources. As I alluded to earlier, Attorney Bob Goldberg has recorded 2 COVID-19 webinars. The first one was with HR expert and RSPA chairperson Chelsea Paulson, talking about communication guidelines. Bob then recorded one giving a lot of specifics on the CARES Act. This link will also access the RSPA blog. We've produced over a dozen blog posts to this date. The community's been really great helping with that. You can also subscribe and you'll see episodes of the Trusted Advisor podcast, which the folks who are attending the roundtable today are participating in. We've also put together guides for small business resources for VARs and ISVs, and also one for merchants. We've had resellers. This is a reseller request that we put together a link that resellers can put on their website, and that way they can share with their merchants, hey, here's how to get access to a lot of these other programs that can help them. And then also I'll say the RSPA staff is all in on this effort. It's all hands on deck to help our members, and the entire RSPA team is on this call today. We're here in this roundtable. We want to hear you and what you need, and we are also here for you. One of the things, and I want to touch on it, is we started a section called the RSPA Restaurant Rescue, and so we believe that online ordering is going to be vital to sustain the restaurant industry in the near term during this pandemic. So Restaurant Rescue is a list of member companies with digital ordering initiatives and related technologies that can help VARs and ISVs provide solutions quickly to merchants in need. And those who are watching on the video right now, this is just a screen grab of part of the list. We have over 40 member companies, 40 organizations who are helping move this forward. So again, follow that same URL, gorspa.org/crisis-resources. All right, so that is the warm-up, and now it's time to start the roundtable. We have almost 40 individuals on this call right now, and again, the topics that we want to address, and for those folks who are participating live in the roundtable, please start lining up your questions now, and then we'll be able to call on you and get the conversation going today. And so the topics we're going to focus on is how members are pursuing and utilizing new federal government resources through programs such as the CARES Act and PPP, how members are adjusting their sales and marketing approach during the COVID-19 crisis, and how members are adapting their staffing levels and service tactics during this pandemic. So we have a few questions that have come in so far. And so Stephen Enfield from POS Supply Solutions up in Massachusetts has a question. And so Kathy, if we can welcome Stephen, that would be great. Stephen Enfield, are you there?
I am here. Good morning, Jim, Kathy, and RSPA community.
Hello, Stephen. What's your question for the group?
All right. My question is this. So I have applied for the PPP loan through my local bank, which fortunately was an SBA and approved lender. I was approved on Friday and was told it would be 7 to 10 business days for a closing date. And then after closing, it would be 24 to 48 hours for funding. And my question to the group is, has anyone else received funding yet? I've talked to other business owners, and it seems like there's been a lot of delays and challenges with the PPP loan. So I'm curious as to the feedback from the group on the status of their loans.
Great, thank you. And so you said you applied on Friday. Was it easy to apply? Was it time consuming, or was it a fairly quick process for you?
It was fairly straightforward. I also did apply for the EIDL loan 2.5 weeks ago, and that was a bear. That was very time consuming, and they asked for a lot of information. And I have yet to hear back from the SBA on the EIDL loan that I submitted 2 weeks ago. The PPP loan was fairly straightforward from an administrative perspective.
Got it. Okay, thank you. We will throw out your question to the group. So again, if folks can line up with a question, anybody who's had an experience applying for the PPP loan, we would love to hear from you so you could answer Stephen's question there. Again, just use the question function, and that way we'll know that your name, and then we'll be able to call on you. So Stephen, I will say again, we had a roundtable yesterday, and we did have several folks who weighed in about completing that loan. And if, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we had folks who talked about applying one day and then in 2 to 3 business days having money in their bank account. I know we had more than one reseller on the line who did say how, what an odd experience it was to fill out a form and then 48, 72 hours later, you get a bunch of money in your bank account. So we have had folks who did have success with it. We also had some folks who their bank wasn't ready for it, or another bank wasn't ready for it, so they went to another one. They kind of gave some guidance of some of these small local banks are really scrambling and hustling to make that happen. But again, hoping this is a roundtable discussion, and so if anybody else in the group is able to weigh in on that, please just leave your question, and we will get to you. It looks like David Glantz from Business Sense in California is also here. And David, you had either a question or a comment about the PPP and EIDL.
I would love to see a poll of who has received either the PPP or the EIDL, either the loan or the advance, because there's two. The EIDL can be a loan. They also have an advance that they're not asking to be repaid. It will get, if you apply for the PPP, it'll get deducted from your PPP, the 10K. But I'd be curious to do a poll. But in the meantime, I can tell you that we applied on the morning of the 3rd when it first became available. And that's also through our local bank. Actually, it's not a local bank, it's a very large bank, but it's the one we bank with, and we have a business account. And we heard on that following Tuesday from them. They actually called me. I was astounded. They wanted to make sure we knew there was 2 new documents we had to fill out. And so we filled out everything, uploaded everything on Tuesday, and whether the 7th or 8th or whatever that was, and haven't heard anything since. So I don't know the status. And our bank is saying, well, you can't call us, you can't talk to the branch, it's not in your online portal. You'll just have to wait for us to contact you. So that's our experience. We also applied for the EIDL advance, and we did that also on the 3rd and haven't heard anything at all from them. My understanding is that the EIDL is run out of money at this point, or the SBA has run out of money for the EIDL. Doesn't mean that if you've applied that there isn't money, but they can't commit any more at this point until they get more approval from the feds. I can tell you also from my experience with our clients, of all the ones that I know of that have put an application into the PPP, and it's a few dozen, that not one of them has received funding yet. And I only know of one through peers, so this is probably hundreds of applications, and only one has received funding of those. So it's a bizarre time. It's just wait and see. And I know our clients are having challenges with that. I mean, some of them are trying to figure, they've been trying to hold on and not lay people off, hoping the PPP will come through, and might have to end up laying off or furloughing because they're running out of money, and it's payroll right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, David, just so you know, a couple comments have come in where people said PPP applied and approved, waiting for funding. EIDL applied 2 weeks ago and still waiting for feedback. But the roundtable that we had yesterday, which is available now on the RSPA blog, which if you go right now, you can, if you're listening to this on demand, you can pause and then go check this out right now. But if you're in the live thing, we don't want you to bail out of the roundtable. But if you go on the RSPA website and click on blog, you'll see that we have the roundtable up there. I know Rick Fueling from Right Systems in Sartell, and then Lance Bell from Serving Intel, based out of Chicago. They both talked about applying, and they have received significant funds already in their bank account. Like, it was not just a promise, not just an approval. So it's interesting that the folks here are, having a different kind of experience.
I also think what I've heard from I said one, there's 2 that I know of that have received funding, and both of those are through small banks, small local banks. It seems like the larger ones are slower. And it seems.
Got it. That was kind of the conjecture yesterday, is that the larger banks were having some more difficult time. The smaller ones were hustling. So, well, David, thank you very much. Might come back to you later in the call. I do have Michael Tash, RSPA board member, and also one of the owners of Essential Systems in the Washington, D.C. area. Michael, you have some insights on your experience for applying for Paycheck Protection Program loan. Can you share that story, Michael? Michael, are you there?
Jim, he's unmuted
Michael,
on the line. He may not. He may have muted himself.
Can you hear me now?
Got it. Yep. He just sent a note that his audio is not working. So, Michael, we'll see if we can get that for you. Maybe you'll have to dial back in. In the meantime, so Michael had a success story too, because he said he's already been funded. So, Michael, hopefully we'll be able to get you back there. Let us know if you're able to get that working. Matt Bamberg. Oh, Michael, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Just barely. If you can speak up really loudly, that'd be fantastic.
Okay, I'm trying it.
All right. So, Michael, go ahead. All right. Looks like his audio is not working. We'll try to get back to Michael in a little bit. Matt Bamberg, if you can share what company you're from, and I guess also what part of the country, because that might make a difference with these things. And if you can talk about your experience, please.
Sure. We're in Iowa. It's integrated point of sale. We applied on the 3rd as well, both for the grant, the $10,000 grant, as well as PPP. I got some information back from our bank, which is a national bank. They're pretty good size. As far as they asked for additional documents late last week. But since then, their website basically just says the loan is in processing. And I've talked to a rep at the bank who said they would chase it. That was yesterday. And I finally got frustrated and called my state senator, who actually responded, surprisingly enough, and said that they knew or had a relationship with this bank group and would reach out to him on my behalf. So waiting, still waiting. But my question is, and this is probably from a legal HR standpoint, is in my case, we said we had 22 employees, which we did the last 12 months, but I've had to start laying people off just because there's no income coming in, obviously. I've been trying to hang on to as many as I can, but I've been laying people off. And most likely, if the loan does come through, I won't be bringing those people back because we anticipate having to downsize moving forward. A lot of our customers have told us that they're just not going to reopen, period, that this has put them out of business. And so we've already seen probably 10% of our customer base just evaporate. So if I don't use that money for payroll, I'm guessing that I'm just paying a 1% interest penalty. Would that be correct?
So that would be a question for your accountant or your legal counsel. Again, Matt, with being an RSPA member, I would fire that question off to Bob Goldberg, because I'm sure he'd be able to answer it quickly for you. I can say anecdotally, because we've talked, the RSPA staff has talked with resellers and software developers on a regular basis, and then we just had the roundtable yesterday where that has to be applied to headcount in particular, and there are, like you said, penalties or fees or extra interest that you'll have to pay if you don't do it in that way. But that would be something to navigate through with your control, with your accountant, in terms of the best practices for that. But yeah, if you're going to end, the period with fewer people than you had when you started. Oh, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Jim. I was just going to help Matt a little bit on this, give you a little more information. I think Jim's advice is sound. But in addition to that, I would just share that 75% of your loan has to be consistent with your pre-COVID headcount and payroll amount. I would also to advise everybody to be very familiar with the forgiveness remedies beyond the face value that I just shared with you in terms of your payroll amount and your payroll headcount, because there are some other opportunities for you to remedy the forgiveness so that you don't have to pay anything back. So just be fully aware of all your options. And as Jim said, the best way to dig into the details is your attorney, your banker, and your accountant. And the other thing I would just underscore, gang, it's like on this call, there's been results for you as you've gone through the process, and we feel bad about that. But I want to give you some encouragement, because on yesterday's call, as Jim has alluded to, we did hear nothing but success stories, and one in particular, within days, a $500,000 check showed up, or an amount showed up in an account. So the program is working. You guys keep the faith and keep following your process and getting through to your bankers and making sure that you've got advocates there. But the program is working. Now, we all have heard that the initial funding has been depleted or near depletion, and they're going to try to restore that source of income or source of liquidity. I think we got to keep doing what we're doing with all the people to you. But be aware, once you get the funding and once you get approved, make sure you're fully aware of the remedies for forgiveness, because they're not all common sense, and you don't want any surprises down the road.
Thank you, John. Hey, John, while we still have you on the line, somebody just weighed in with a question and said, my understanding is that 75% is applied to payroll. The remaining can be used for rent, mortgage, and utilities, and the rest would be 1% loan or paid back. I guess, is that your understanding as well, or is it something different?
No, that is my understanding. You have to 75% of the loan has to go toward retaining your employees, and then you have some discretion. So I think you're on the right track there.
Great, thank you, Matt. Is that helpful?
Yep, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Got it. Great. Thank you. And again, Bob Goldberg is there for RSPA members. Email him anytime. I know he's been responding morning, noon, and night. So we have a few folks who want to weigh in. Michael Tash is back with us, and we think the audio is working. And, Michael, I feel like we should do, because I know you're very active. You have a great band that a lot of folks have seen. Like, we could have done a mic check before. So how's our audio working now on the bass?
Can you hear me now? Any better?
Much better. Thank you. Michael Tash from ESS in the Washington, D.C. area. Go ahead.
Great. I was just going to throw in, we work with a local bank, this community bank, and we had applied for the PPP funding the week before last. And Saturday morning, we got an email from them that the SBA had changed some of the rules and changed some of the forms. But the short version, we submitted the application on Monday of last week. I signed the paperwork on Thursday, and we were funded on Friday morning. So it's crazy how quickly it worked. But as long as, from what I was told, as long as you have all the paperwork and everything in the packet that they need when you submit it, it moves pretty quickly.
Got it. And so just to clarify the dates on that, you applied for the loan on April 6th. You signed the note on Thursday the 9th, and there was money in your account Friday the 10th. Is that correct?
Correct.
Got it. All right. And so it's just, you're thinking, make sure you have all the documents, and we have somebody who actually has a story related to that. Any other insights, Michael, that you would give related to, the entire process?
Just work with your bank. It's a lot more difficult from what I've heard from our customers and other, just other businesses in our area. If you're working with a bank like BB&T, Bank of America, Capital One, because they have so many people trying to apply, and they don't have the resources to, it seems like they don't have the resources just to move those applications along. Whereas with our local bank, it's the lender that we deal with for, if we need a car loan, it's the same person.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Great, Michael, thank you very much. We appreciate you sharing your insights. And Joe Euler, you submitted a question a while back, so thank you for being patient. If you can, I guess, describe your company, where you're located, and then either your experience or your question related to these resources. Please, Joe.
Yes, I'm located in the Mid-Atlantic region, in the Fredericksburg area. We also have offices in Virginia Beach. We actually applied for the the disaster loan on the 30th, and still haven't heard anything about that. And then we applied on the 3rd for the PPP loan, and then got noticed over the weekend from my local banker that the U.S. Treasury changed the form and that you would have to reapply. So we redid that. But then after that, we realized, after getting approval, that there was an error in the calculation, and we cut ourselves short a little bit. So we didn't sign any of the paperwork yet. And I was wondering if any other value-added reseller had this experience where they had to make a correction and resubmit. The banker told us originally that we could not reapply, even though we didn't sign any paperwork yet. But that's the, we're still waiting to hear clarification from the bank on that. And I was wondering if anybody else in the industry had experienced anything like that.
Got it. Yeah, I'm sorry that you're going through that. Can I ask, and somebody's weighing in, and we'll get to them in 1 second. They might have some perspective for you. What is your next step? Like, are you in a wait and see, or where are you thinking of going from here?
Well, we're in a wait and see right now. But, is hearing the horror stories about the money's running out and they haven't, refilled or whatnot, it's probably just going to delay it more in getting funding. Unfortunately, it was a calculation error, but we don't want to sign off, because once you sign off, my understanding from the banker that you're locked in with that amount only. You can't reapply for it. So we didn't want to go that route, but it's kind of a wait and see right now.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Joe. I'm sorry, combining
That's
your first
okay.
and last name. Stephen Enfield, if we can go back to you for a second, because you're talking about, your understanding is that the PPP loans vary greatly by bank. So again, Stephen's in Massachusetts with POS Supply.
Yeah, I'm part of a Vistage group, which is a group of small business owners. And I was on a call yesterday with 15 fellow owners. And like you said, the bigger banks, I heard Bank of America was the first one to have the application live. They've got the technological resources to do that. But then once you got the loan submitted, you didn't hear back. So, and it was just all over the map, with people hearing back from their local banks, and the experience with the actual application and the funding timeframe. But again, the common theme is, the smaller community banks tend to be more responsive on the loans.
Got it. Thank you. And have you heard anything about applying at different banks? Like, even if people don't have a banking relationship, like, kind of, I'm going to say divide and conquer, but, have more irons in the fire, to use another cliche.
I haven't heard anything there. I do know, initially there was, 1,000 SBA approved banks that were put out, and they've been quickly adding banks to that. And I've had a couple other people reach out to me since then. Even American Express, their merchant advance services now are an SBA approved lender for PPP loans. So they're quickly expanding the SBA approved lending companies, even outside of traditional banks, like I said, like American Express, and I've heard of a couple other companies.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that from an Amex. Had not heard that before. So Thank you for that perspective, Stephen. And let's go back to Michael Tash, again at ESS. Michael has some additional insights on this about multiple banks. Michael. Michael, is your audio working? It appears that it is not at this point.
Yeah, I had heard.
So I guess, Michael,
you can apply.
There we go. Okay. Go ahead, Michael.
You got me?
Now we do, yes.
I had heard that you can apply multiple financial institutes, that it's kind of a first come, first serve type of process.
Got it. Have you heard of anybody who's done that? I don't know if any of your merchants have done that at all, or is that just something that you've heard? I don't know if anybody had a practical application of doing that.
I have heard from a couple people that they have done it, and they hadn't gotten the funding yet because they were applying at their local bank. They were also applying through, I guess, like a broker. One of them, I think they were applying through Heartland Capital, and I don't remember the third one, but they were told,
Okay.
The application, and it's not like a normal loan process where they check your credit and you can't be applying or doing anything else. This one is different, and it's whoever the SBA gets the application first from, they process it.
I see. Okay, so it's almost like building up a prospect list, right? The more people you're reaching out to, the better chance you have of one of them coming in from a sales standpoint. Got it. Great, thank you for that insight, Michael. And so we don't see any other questions related to pursuing and utilizing the new federal government resources. If somebody does have one, we just had a couple notes come in. I'd be careful applying through a broker, possibility for extra fees, so something noted about that. And then regarding multiple banks, some lenders have a question on their app asking you've applied with another lender and will reject you if you have. And I think that kind of ties in with the earlier point of different banks are handling this differently. It's a very fluid situation. And to John Kirk's point earlier, you got to be persistent with this. Like I love the example of, I think it was Joe calling his state senator to try to move things forward. Like you have to be persistent with these things. Also, I guess to wrap up this part of the conversation before we start talking about sales and marketing and then staffing levels and service tactics, again, if you want to weigh in on that, please send us a question. And if I don't have enough questions, I will start calling on people until we get to the end of the roundtable here. So be on guard that I may be calling on you. But Bob Goldberg's advice was that, and so regarding EIDL loans and grants. So on April 6th, the SBA decided to implement a $1,000 cap per employee with a maximum of $10,000 on the grant. And Bob said this decision is contrary to how the grants were originally presented. And so originally it was $10,000, and it didn't matter the number of employees that you had. You could go below 10 employees. But now, again, this has changed. SBA, it's a $1,000 cap per employee with a maximum of 10,000. And then also independent contractors could apply beginning April 10th. And Bob's advice is apply quickly. The funds are running out, and Congress has not yet agreed on additional funds. If you listen to the scuttlebutt, it seems like at some point they will, but there very well could be a gap. And here we are in very much a cash flow situation. So you want to make sure, and it sounds like folks on this call have applied already. If you haven't, make sure you're taking the process, talking to potentially other banks, and again, for sure, talking with your accountant and your legal counsel. So thanks everybody for weighing in on how they're utilizing the new federal government resources. So let's shift again to sales and marketing and staffing levels. I have had one question that came in on that. Lindsay Fuller from Staley Technologies. Lindsay, if you can share with us Staley's approach to sales and marketing. If you can give a little bit of background on Staley first, where you're located and what Staley does, please.
Sure. We're located in Little Rock, Arkansas as our headquarters. We have a couple locations in strategic places in the country, but we are a point of sale provider for retail and hospitality, as well as a low voltage cabling deployment provider. And so our clients, kind of have a wide range of impact, where some of the larger retailers that are essential businesses are, still busy moving ahead with projects, but also feeling the very real pain that our restaurant clients are going through. So to that end, we've really just pulled back sales outreach efforts and made it all about sort of like a heart-centered, empathy-forward outreach, just checking in on people, letting them know, we're going to be here when they reopen or when they get back to doing business as the new normal is for them. And just really kind of promoting local restaurant initiatives, sharing food photos from client restaurants. And, that's just kind of the way we've been coming at it. And people seem appreciative to not be hit with something salesy right now. I think that's just the big takeaway for us.
Got it. And have there been, we've talked, we actually had the RSPA marketing committee met earlier this week. And then we also did a podcast with some Canadian reseller members, and they were talking about the products that they are introducing that could actually help the, their merchants. And they're not presenting it as, do I have a deal for you? But they're presenting it as, here's something that might help. What do you think? Is Staley taking a similar approach, or is it really just a listening exercise right now? Or are there products you're introducing to people that you think might be able to help them?
I think a bit of both. We're absolutely focusing on the emerging technologies that we've already kind of pivoted a lot towards self-service kiosk and drive-through optimization tech, but also kind of reaching out to different companies that are coming to market with products that will help store operations with social distancing alerts and kind of ways to integrate those with digital signage through open APIs, and just kind of wrapping our head around the next wave of gadgets and things that are going to be designed to kind of help optimize, physical spaces to adjust to this new reality.
Okay, and have folks been receptive to that? Like, how have your merchants responded to you bringing up these ideas?
They have been receptive. Some of our larger kind of QSR footprint clients have started to try to implement some additional wireless coverage to help with like a tablet line busting exercise, kind of in the style of Chick-fil-A and some of the other big players. So we're just trying to let them know, here's what some other people are doing. We understand this is a tough time and every business is different, but these are some of the ways in which we see restaurants pivoting to a more online ordering pickup model. And here's some of the technologies that can help with that.
Got it. And it seems like this is really an opportunity to be a trusted advisor and to be a friend. I know we don't usually talk about that from a sales and marketing standpoint, but it seems like reaching out as an individual to see like really how they're doing, how are their spirits, how's their health, and then seeing if there's things you can advise them on to keep their business afloat during a difficult time. Sounds like that's the approach that Staley's taking.
Yep, you're exactly right. And we hope that that's the approach that people will remember when, things resume to whatever the new normal business way is. And that, thanks to this, the support programs that the government's pushing through, our company feels that we're sound and going to be able to be there for them when they come back.
Got it. Great. Lindsay, thank you very much for sharing that. Really appreciate it. So that was the last question that has been submitted. And so picture that we are now at, just say, the RSPA Inspire conference or the Retail Now General session. You know how we have that cube that has a microphone in it that people throw around? So I'm going to throw it to a couple folks, and hopefully they have their microphones working. So one is Brianna Brown from APG Cash Drawer. Brianna, if you're with us, hopefully we can unmute you. I know you had some perspectives from a marketing standpoint, what you are doing at APG, what you're seeing other folks doing, have attended a lot of webinars in that regard, and you contributed to a blog post that's up on the RSPA site right now. Brianna, can you share with us some of the changes that you're making, you've seen other leading companies making in terms of marketing and sales during the crisis?
Sure. Thanks, Jim. APG, we're a global manufacturer of cash management solutions, and with everything that we're doing, a lot of our marketing plans have shifted we're cognizant of the impact that this has on our businesses and our customers. So most of our communication is really focusing around the concerns and troubles that people are having. We're empathetic, leading with what our customers need rather than pushing product. It's all about thought leadership, providing helpful information, helping our customers with data or research that's been provided out there that can help build up their business and community. Any just resources that we can provide right now, I think helps lead to authenticity and also ultimately kind of build some trust. So that's kind of what we're looking from a marketing perspective. We're mindful about the imagery, how things are stated, with social distancing, not showing people in large crowds, shaking hands, high fives like that. And I think also that this is a great time to just take a step back and reevaluate the voice of our customer, because coming out of this, we know that things are going to be different. Looking at our personas and reframing what is the new normal after COVID. So those are just a quick few things that we're looking at.
Yeah, and it seems like, one thing we talked about in the marketing committee call, there are some folks in our industry who are crazy busy right now, but then there are other folks who have some downtime. And so downtime is not the time for you to catch up on Facebook or just wring your hands. It's an opportunity to relook and, like you said, reframe how your messaging could be going forward, how some of your approaches could be going forward. Is that correct, Brianna?
Yes. And I would think a lot of people would have started looking at a digital marketing strategy. This is the time to invest your tools and resources towards that, since there's so many people that are looking for that data online. We lack the in-person exchanges through sales or trade show visits. So building up that resource library right now, I think will help you in the long run.
Great. Thank you very much, Brianna. And the RSPA, as I mentioned earlier, we've been producing a lot of content, not selling RSPA services, but basically providing information. And that really seems to be the appropriate thing at this point, is not just, again, pushing products. So there's products that can help them in their spot. That's fine to introduce them to it. But if you're giving them information to build up their business, and we've had 5x the typical blog traffic RSPA did in the month of March. One reseller who I know is doing that well is Dale Seafeld from Anthem Business Solutions in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Dale, you were actually the person who had the idea for the RSPA to create our small business resource center for merchants. I guess if you can talk about why you had that idea and how you're implementing that, if you don't mind.
Sure, Jim. Yeah, the idea was that I knew you guys were bringing a lot of different resources together and was probably going to be keeping that maintained. And I figured for the entire community, it would be better if we could just link to a central source. So as those documents and the information is being updated, then it's always current. So my thought was that we just put it on our landing page on the front of our website so that we could direct our customers there so that they would have access to the most current information through our website, and also promote the RSPA as a professional group in general. So that was kind of our thought, and we've had some good feedback from customers about it.
And so thank you for that. And how have you engaged with your customers on that? Is it wait for them to bring it up? Is it something that you say, here's something that might help you? Like, again, here, I'm a trusted advisor. I'll point you towards resources. Can you, I guess, paint a picture for how those conversations are broached?
Pretty much what we've been doing, the individual sales teams have been reaching out to their customer base on a one-on-one basis through phone calls and emails, and directing them to the resource. And at the same time, just saying, hey, if you need help with online ordering or something like that, we've got that functionality available as well. So it is a very soft, non-sales engagement with the customer, but at the same time, it lets them know we are there and that we do care.
Got it. Thank you. And one more question for you, and this is something that we talked about with some of the Canadian members, but I want to ask it to you because I know you and Scott have run what used to be Tulsa Cash Store to Anthem now. Can I ask, how are you planning, like strategically, when the fog is pretty thick in terms of when this is going to end and how things are going to bounce back? Do you have any insights into that in terms of how are you thinking ahead from a business standpoint with all that's going on, if you don't mind me asking?
We're trying to really just think through what the future is going to look like. I've got a meeting here with my sales staff as soon as this is over, and we're just going to brainstorm, what does the business look like in the future? What does our restaurant base look like? How do we need to change our direction? Because it will change drastically. The number of seats in a restaurant is going to change. The interaction with guests will change. They're not going to want to touch the same old plastic menus at a full service set down restaurant they've done in the past. So how can we brainstorm ideas to find new vendors or augment technology that we're currently providing to help in these spaces? Things like digital menus, menu boards, digital signage, drive-through headsets. I mean, we need to think differently about how we approach our customer base.
Got it. I know I've talked to some resellers and their thought is things are going to be different. And one thing is when you're selling any point of sale system going forward, where you always have a cash drawer and a receipt printer, right? And either a tablet or all in one, like some fundamental things. One of those things is going to be online ordering capability. Like folks are not going to want to get caught in this situation anymore. I don't know if you agree with that as well, Dale.
Oh, completely. 100% agree. Yes.
Yeah.
So
the world has changed, and this is an opportunity for retailers to change with it.
I agree completely.
Oh, go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, I think it's
well,
almost.
Thank you. No, go ahead. Yeah, one more.
In the future, I think it's almost going to be as standard as processing credit cards integrated that you'll have an online presence as part of that solution.
Got it. Yes, we're hearing a lot about contactless payments as well. So, Dale, thank you very much for weighing in. We're getting close to the end of our roundtable today, but want to try to squeeze in a few more comments. If I can call on somebody first, I did get a comment that somebody appreciates it. Brianna weighed in and said, "I love the new APG countertop shield." So, thank you for that note. Michelle Sirois from Blue Star Canada. So Michelle, I know you've spoken at past RSPA events about the Challenger sale and about really teaching your customers. If you're here on board, I guess what are you hearing from your partners? What is Blue Star doing differently from a sales and marketing standpoint? Any insights you can share, we'd appreciate it, Michelle. Michelle, are you able to join us? Nope. Okay. Apparently not. Is there anybody else who wants to weigh in before we close this out? We're getting close to the top of the hour for this roundtable. All right. If
hey, Jim, this is John.
Hey,
Jim, this is John. I just wanted to just commend the team. We heard some examples yesterday of how our community, in the worst of times here with this terrible health crisis, you're finding a way to compartmentalize the health crisis and the things you're trying to do for your business to continue to play offense. And that's commendable. The environmental shields that were referenced that APG has come out with, that's a great example. When you hear Dale and his plan right after this call to sit around the table with his team and brainstorm, that's an example of playing offense. We heard from Thomas yesterday from Skurla's up in Alaska, how he has kind of recognized the fact that customers have more time now than they typically have for obvious reasons, and he's using that time to interact and connect and drive even a stronger rapport that will be a lasting rapport. We heard a little more of that today. So I just want you to know that's inspiring to hear you guys figure out how to still play some measure of offense as you're forced to play defense and special teams. And I think if we can continue along those lines, we're going to get to a better place. And then one other point, just to put everything in context, the CARES Act was signed into law on the 27th of March. That's 3 weeks from tomorrow. So we're moving pretty quick. Then on the 3rd, which was that following Wednesday, the 3rd of April, Bob Goldberg ran a very thorough education call on the benefits of the CARES Act and how to execute. And although I want you to stay encouraged, because I know although some of you are having some wrinkles and some bumps and bruises along the way as you try to take advantage of the benefits of the CARES Act, specifically the liquidity realities here, there are others that have been very successful and have had a good experience. So I think stay with your banker, stay with your accountant, stay with your lawyer. Look for those advocates to get you through this, because you're in the red zone. You've done some great things just getting to this place, and it's been a pretty condensed time frame. So let's stay in this thing together. And if Bob Goldberg can assist you, if anybody from the RSPA can assist you, if we can connect you with another member, don't be shy about reaching out. We want to help you wherever we can. But most importantly, just know that this community is inspiring because you guys have managed to continue to play some measure of offense in the worst of times, and things are going to get better. So thank you, Jim.
Yeah, thank you, John, and thanks everybody for your participation today. So that's all the time that we have, and we hope you enjoyed our discussion. Before we close out, just a few quick reminders about the RSPA COVID-19 services. Again, as John alluded to, and we talked about a lot on this call, lean on the RSPA General Counsel. You can reach out to Bob Goldberg if you're an RSPA member. Phone and email conversations at no charge for RSPA members. Also, the opportunity to outsource your HR services through GMS. Again, do what you do best, outsource the rest. For more information on that, you can email membership@gorspa.org. And then also, the RSPA continues to create resources for resellers, ISVs, vendors, and even for your merchants during this crisis. You can find all those at gorspa.org/crisis-resources, or you can go to just the RSPA website and start clicking on, you'll see the red banner on there. Finally, we want to ask you to please subscribe to the RSPA YouTube channel and the Trusted Advisor podcast so you never miss an episode. We'd also appreciate it if you'd rate us wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Before we go, to echo what John Kirk said, and one of my favorite quotes from Franklin Roosevelt, which actually I heard this morning when I was listening to a podcast, FDR said, "Above all, try something." And so this is a time for action. This is a time for you to test things, to measure them, to, like John said, play some offense for your business. And so a few thank yous before we go. Thanks to the RSPA community for sharing their wisdom today. This is really, really great. Thanks also to RSPA Marcom Manager Chris Arnold for his production work, the entire RSPA team for joining in on this call, Joseph McDade for our music, and last but not least, thanks so much to you for listening. Our goal at the RSPA is to accelerate the success of our members in the point-of-sale ecosystem by providing knowledge and connections. For more information, please visit our website at gorspa.org. Thank you for listening, and goodbye, everybody.